Agriculture today faces a serious challenge. At stake is survival of the family farm structure of agriculture. More and more family farmers and ranchers are being forced to leave the farm. In 1940, there were 6,102,417 farmers and ranchers. In 1980, we have less than 2,700,000 left. In South Dakota, in 1940, there were over 72,000 farmers and ranchers, but in 1980, there are less than 43,000. These unemployed farmers and ranchers move to the cities and towns across the country and vie for jobs already in short supply. In 1980, farmers and ranchers are looking at farm prices that have reached the low levels of the dirty 30s. April 1980 brought 60% parity prices. Hogs. Parity price was $76.20 per hundredweight, but the price received by farmers was only $27.60 per hundredweight. That's 36% of parity. Beef cattle. The parity price was $81.30 per hundredweight, but farmers and ranchers were receiving only $60.40 per hundredweight. That's 74% of parity. Wheat. The parity price was $6.43 per bushel, and the price received by farmers and ranchers was only $3.40 per bushel. Now that's only 53% of parity. Corn. The parity price was $4.45 a bushel, but the price received by farmers and ranchers was only $2.31 a bushel. That's 52% of parity. What is parity? Well, parity is to farmers what the Consumer Price Index is to consumers. Parity relates to the cost in producing commodities, while the Consumer Price Index relates to the consumer costs on products being purchased. The parity index is used to calculate commodity prices. It relates those prices to the costs of producing those commodities. It consists of 336 cost items, which are indexed monthly based on information collected by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The index was based on the period 1910 through 1914, when economists estimated that prices and costs of producing agricultural commodities were substantially in balance, not only with each other, but with similar production processes in the urban society. Since that base period, the indexed items have been changed in order to reflect changes in agriculture. Now, contrary to the opinion of some, no items in the parity formula relate to profit. Other omissions include labor of the farm family and equity in the farm land or dwellings. With the problem of farm income at the forefront of agriculture's problems, rural South Dakota is facing serious problems today, which must be met with immediate action. In March, a Farm Income Farm Credit Forum meeting was held at Webster, South Dakota. Over 300 family farmers and ranchers attended. Senator George McGovern, Farmers Home Administration State Director Jack Weiland, and State ASCS Director Wayne Testerman participated in a panel discussion at that meeting. South Dakota Farmers Union President Ben Radcliffe chaired that meeting. Here are his comments on the concerns expressed.
I don't believe that it is possible to overstate the crisis that now confronts agriculture here in South Dakota and across the nation. Never before in the lifetime of any of us have we seen 20% interest rates. Never in our lifetimes have we seen farmers' energy costs double in 18 months. Nor have we experienced an 18% annual rate of inflation. Unfortunately, some of us here can remember another time when parity dipped to 60%, and that time was during the Great Depression of the 1930s. The current plummet in farm prices began with the Russian grain embargo announced on January 4th of this year. In spite of repeated assurances that the American farmer will not be forced to carry the total load of the price-reducing effects of the embargo, grain prices still remain substantially below the pre-embargo level. Farmers deserve better than that. We must unite all the support we can and get behind congressional action to enact farm legislation that will provide farmers with at least a decent income and a decent standard of living for their families.
In May, a women's conference was held in Sioux Falls with over 40 women participating. The conference participants shared concerns and ideas with consumers and businessmen and also looked at ways for them to become involved politically, cooperatively, and through their organization and communities, doing this to strengthen the relationship of agriculture and their rural community allies. The understanding that the crisis is affecting everyone is made clear in an interview with Erma Stuart from Ramona, South Dakota. Let's listen to her comments.
I had the opportunity to visit with the marketing director at the Western Mall here in Sioux Falls. He stated that the business expansion is at a 10-year low and that tight credit hurts everyone. People that have savings do hesitate to spend what they have put away. Farm prices do affect their business. On the bright side, his motto was, no matter what happens, man will not only exist, but he will endure.
Let's now hear the response of another lady who visited with managers of farmer-owned cooperatives and managers of farm-related businesses.
Jeanie Hetland from Pierpont, South Dakota, in Sioux Falls, attending the South Dakota Farmers Union Women's Conference on Crisis in Rural America. In conjunction with this, we had the opportunity to visit with co-op and implement managers. They stated credit for farmers in themselves was the biggest problem facing all of us. They were all definitely cutting down on their inventories, tightening their credit policies, and felt the farmers too were becoming very watchful on all of their purchases. We had most informative interviews with these gentlemen. They were enlightening and broadening for us, and we hope also that they appreciated our efforts. One stated he felt farmers in some cases had overbought on machinery. Another implement dealer said that they were having difficulty moving machinery. Another comment on a brighter side by another gentleman was that he felt the farmer was the most efficient creature on earth, which was quite a credit to farmers, I believe. And another said, send me informed, knowledgeable women on any farm issue or farm problem concerning management or whatever, and they will get his 100% attention. And we felt this was a definite plus for us as a whole and also in conjunction with this conference.
But just looking at the problems, either by the women attending the conference or by the rest of us, will not provide the answers needed. Addressing the conference was Laurie Daschle, wife of 1st District Congressman Tom Daschle. She talked about what can be done. Let's listen to what she has to say.
I think it's really important that we get involved in the political process and in government. That's how we become part of the solution to the problems that we face. And we face many problems as women, as farmers, and as Americans. It's easy to become involved in the government process. The first and most important step is to register to vote and to vote. Here in South Dakota, we have one of the highest voting percentages in the nation, but it's still not enough people. Democracy depends on public participation, and if it's a minority of those people who are actually participating and voting, then the democracy is not going to work very well. And it's up to us to be sure that we're registered to vote, to be sure that our sons and daughters, our parents, neighbors, are all registered to vote, and that we vote in the elections. Another way to become involved in the political process is to lobby. Now, I know lobbying has a bad connotation. We think of cigar and smoke-filled rooms and cash that passes hands under the table. But that's not the case. Lobbying means writing letters, telegrams, making phone calls, and talking to people in person like you did this afternoon. Talk with your elected officials. Let them know the problems that you're concerned about. Let them know ideas that you have for solving those problems. They're interested in that, and it does make a difference. It's also important to familiarize yourself with some of the bills that are before the Congress and before the state legislature. If you're interested in farm problems, then become aware of some of the important agricultural legislation and make your friends and neighbors aware about those bills. And write to your congressman, write to your senators, and write to your president. Let them know how you feel.
The crisis in agriculture affects all of rural South Dakota. It affects the survival of family farmers and ranchers, the survival of farmer-owned cooperatives, the survival of independently owned businesses and their employees. It affects the decision of larger chain stores to stay open or pull out of South Dakota. It is extremely important if rural life is to continue in the 80s and if we are to maintain the human values that we enjoy, that we fight these battles together.